I want to come back to some other issues affecting the American economy. You'll have 45 seconds to answer these. Some of our big trading partners commit human rights violations. Considering that poverty and abuse are also often blamed for fostering terrorism, how should we alter trading policies with these countries? Still owe Senator Edwards some time here in the mix here, so if you want to take this on, and then I think we're going to move on, and the rest of you will have a chance here in a couple of minutes.
Well, what I would say is human rights should be central to the way America engages with the rest of the world, should be central to our trade policy. But if you look at what's happened with American trade policy, you asked about China a few minutes ago. Look at what America got. Big corporations made a lot of money, are continuing to make a lot of money in China. But what did America get in return? We got millions of dangerous Chinese toys. We lost millions of jobs. And right here in Iowa, the Maytag plant in Newton closed. A guy named Doug Bishop, who I got to know very well, had worked in that plant, and his family had worked in that plant literally for generations. And his job is now gone. The same thing, by the way, happened in the plant that my father worked in when I was growing up. It is so important that we stop allowing these corporate powers and corporate profits to run America's policy. Whether it's trade policy, how we engage with China, this is not good for America, it's not good for American jobs, and it's not good for working people in this country.
And so a logical question, Senator Quinn, I'd like you to answer this. Should NAFTA be scrapped or changed?
Well, it should be changed. You know, I think it's important for us to look at the entire context here. You know, you have winners and losers from trade right here in Iowa. People who are gaining because we're exporting, and people who, John has rightly pointed out, have lost their jobs. I want to be a president who focuses on smart, pro-American trade. I will review every trade agreement. I'm going to ask for revisions that I think will actually benefit our country, particularly our workers, our exporters. And I'm going to go to the international community and get the kind of enforceable agreements and standards on labor and environment that we have been seeking as Democrats. Because we need to make it clear to the rest of the world that we are an open society. We believe in trade, but we don't want to be the trade patsies of the world. We want to have an equivocal, balanced relationship. And that's what I will do as president. And NAFTA will be part of that review to try to reform and improve it.
Senator Obama, what do you think about that?
Well, there's no doubt that NAFTA needs to be amended. And I've already said that I would contact the President of Mexico and the Prime Minister of Canada to make sure that the labor and environmental agreements are actually enforceable in the same way that patent protections and other things that are important to corporate America are enforceable. But I did want to just go back briefly to the issue of trade and human rights that you had mentioned earlier. I think that folks made a terrific point that we have to stand for human rights, and that should be part of the trade equation. It is harder for us to do it when we have situations like Guantanamo, where we've suspended habeas corpus. To the extent that we are not being true to our values and our ideals, that sends a negative message to the world, and it gives us less leverage then when we want to deal with countries that are abusing human rights. So I think it's part and parcel with a larger program of us restoring the traditions that made this country great and made us admired around the world.
I think it's important for us to look at the entire context here. You know, you have winners and losers from trade right here in Iowa. People who are gaining because we're exporting, and people who, John has rightly pointed out, have lost their jobs. I want to be a president who focuses on smart, pro-American trade.